What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, wishing you guys all had a good weekend as the Avs are just coasting along past the Oilers. But right now, we're going to talk about the Broncos OTAs because, of course, OTAs takes priority over their Stanley Cup run. No, but we do have some winners and losers from Week 2. Now, just take it with a little bit more than a grain of salt because it's voluntary, non-padded practice. So the winners aren't like, huge David swinging down Goliaths, and the losers aren't really that big of losers. But here's what the schedule looks like coming up here. There are 2/3 the way done with OTAs, entering the last chapter of that starting on June 6th and ending on the 10th. Mandatory minicamp is next week, June 13th to 15th, so keep an eye on that because that's going to get a little bit more of some juice out of Dove Valley just to see who's really falling and rising in that depth chart. And finally, we're just over 100 days until the first real Broncos game, preseason game against the Cowboys on August 13th. But my first winner for Week 2 of Broncos OTAs is Pat Surtain, the second-year corner now, who's been awesome so far, right? Fantastic, phenomenal. He had a Mad Lib type of rookie season where you could fill it in with whatever adjective you wanted. And he started off the second phase of OTAs with a bang, right? Picking off Russell Wilson on the first 11-on-11 play, taking it back to the house if that was allowed in OTAs, right? If there was an end zone to run to. Now, Surtain, we all know, is coming off a dominant rookie season. 4 interceptions, including a pick 6 in that Chargers game. You can even put 2 right there if you wanted to count the preseason one against the Vikings. I think Surtain is on pace to be one of the best cornerbacks in the entire National Football League in year 2. So like the video, let's show the guy some love. If you think Pat Surtain II is going to be a top 10 corner this season, you could make the argument he was top 10 his rookie season. Now, if you don't think he is top 10, all right, we won't come for your neck, but where would you rank him? At least do that for me. Comment down below, right? We love to rank things in the offseason. That's what guys do. That's what football fans do. So, top 12, top 15. I think he is top 10. I think he's right at that 7 to 10 range. He's still got some things to prove going into his second year, but I would put him in top 10. So hit that thumbs up icon if you agree. Second winner, we're keeping it in the secondary. It is Justin Simmons, the potential new face of this defense, right? We're entering a weird phase with no Von Miller, and we're looking for the new heart and soul of this defense. Now, the reason why I have Justin Simmons as a winner is the guy is pumped to be going up against Russell Wilson in practice. Here's what he said a couple days ago. There are times where we were breaking our shell as a defense a little early, so he's figuring out pre-snap where he wants to go with the ball. If it's clean, it's quick, it's crisp, it's fun. I love it. It's the game within the game. Justin Simmons is ready to lead this defense. This defense has been going up against not very strong quarterbacks since Simmons came into the team, since Simmons joined the team after being drafted in 2016 and watching the previous team win a Super Bowl. And since then, the quarterbacks from Osweiler to Flacco to Simeon, right? It's not a pretty list of QBs he's battled with in practice. He's probably very excited. His tail's wagging about going up against Russell Wilson in practice and allowing that to improve the defense every single week of practice. Simmons, in my opinion, has been one of the most underrated DBs in all of football the last 4 seasons. The guy's put up phenomenal numbers year in and year out. He just hasn't been on a playoff team, so people haven't been able to see him much in prime time and become a household name. But everyone in Broncos country knows, I would say he's the next face of this defense. Third and final winner is Lloyd Cushenberry. Lloyd is a player we talked about just a couple of days ago here on the channel after he had a great practice open to the media, and he has been receiving a ton of praise from his new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, and he kind of needs it, right? The guy didn't have an awesome 2021 season. He had 5 sacks allowed, gave up 5 sacks, he had 7 penalties. There is a fire underneath him right now, and there's a competition, I would say, for the starting center job between him and Quinn Meinerz. Meinerz, you get the feel, you get the irk. he's taken someone's job on that interior offensive line. Glasgow took a pay cut, so he's on thin ice for sure. Cush had a bad season. Reisner didn't have as good as a season as he did the prior season coming out of Kansas State. He had some injuries along the way, so that definitely didn't help. But you definitely get the feeling that Meinerz is out there to use that belly and push someone out of their starting job. Pro Football Focus last year graded Cushenberry kind of middle of the pack, if you will. It wasn't anything that was too awful, but it wasn't anything that was too sexy, okay? So if you look at it, 21st out of 39, kind of right there, 500 in the middle, 64.2 overall, 71.3 in the pass, little dip in the run at 62.5, so definitely some room for improvement for Cushenberry, but it wasn't maybe as bad as we're remembering, but it definitely wasn't as pretty. So it wasn't very pretty. But pick a center for me. We played this game on the show, I don't know, last Thursday, I think it was. So let's bring it back here. Let me know. Put the jersey number for the player you think is going to be the Week 1 starting center for the Broncos down below. I've got one last honorary winner. I just wanted to talk about Randy Gregory for a quick second because we got a bit of an update on that front. He has not been participating in any offseason activities so far, and that's not a surprise. He had knee surgery in January and then a cleanup shoulder surgery for that rotator cuff in March. And the Broncos knew this when they signed him to that 5-year deal, $28 million guaranteed. And they are hoping / optimistic he will be ready to go for Week 1. Nathaniel Hackett, he's been talking about Gregory. Even though he hasn't been on the field, here's what he said. He's been great in the meeting room. I've gotten to sit in on a couple of meetings with that group. Just watching them and how they talk and how they interact with each other is awesome. So that's partly him. He has to find a way to continually learn, and we'll just keep working. You got a new head coach who is going up and is looking at brand new players that have been signed in free agency. So they're learning one another, Hackett and Gregory. Hopefully this offseason surgery won't stunt his growth with his new team too much. All right, coming up next, we've got some Week 2 losers because in life there are winners and there are losers. They aren't really that big of losers. They're just not maybe coming along as we would have liked. But before we get to that, I want to give some shout outs here because a couple days ago I said, hey, for everyone that subscribes to this video, I'm going to put your name on a letter to Patrick Surtain. That went out yesterday, so hopefully we get a letter back. We'll see. But shout out to Luis, to R&R, King, Alex, Chris Bryant, having a good year with the Rockies, Brian, Duane Martinez, Chris, Jair, and Beast Sports. Shout out to all of you guys that have recently subscribed to the channel. Greatly appreciate you supporting the show by hitting that big red button. And if you haven't yet, make sure you click on that to get locked in for the best free Broncos coverage on YouTube. My first Week 2 loser is Albert Okwuegbunam. Again, it's not that he's a loser. It's more because the backup, Greg Dulcich, has been the rookie star sensation. Okay, I think SI said it best, right? He is a runaway freight train right now. Everyone is in love with the hair and the short shorts. And Albert Okwuegbunam is like, hey, I thought this was my time to shine now because you moved on from Noah Fant. This should be my position. But Dulcich is just not going away, all right? He is right there, and he is looking to push for a starting role early on. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out, right, as we get closer to Week 1 of who will be that starting tight end. If you haven't made a note of this yet, let me tell you about this new feature that YouTube introduced, which is called Super Thanks. So if you're looking for a spot to show some support to the show like my friends Garrett and Nate already have, all you got to do is click that little heart icon. It's going to be right here. Yeah, right there with the $sign in the middle of it. You can attach a question, attach a note, a thought, whatever it is. Put any dollar amount you are comfortable donating. We'll give you a shout out on the show. We'll get you some screen time like Garrett and Nate have received. So appreciate everyone that's already Super Thanks. But if you haven't already, and this is something you would be interested in doing, would greatly appreciate any any donation to my dog's toy fund, Cruz, because she destroys all of her toys. And had a sitter stop by the apartment today while I was gone, and she's destroyed her bed. So I got to replace that now. All right, here we go. Moving on to my next week 2 loser. It's Brett Rippon. The reason why is there is a decent quarterback battle here for that backup position behind Russell Wilson. And Josh Johnson has had, I mean, it's not like Rippon's been bad at OTAs. That's not the takeaway here. But Josh Johnson, according to Andrew Mason, who does a great job of covering the team, has been doing pretty well. Josh Johnson is as advertised, displaying the intelligence that has helped him stick around as a backup who can quickly grasp a scheme. His cadence drew the defense offside during one team period snap, earning praise from the coaches. Like I said, there's a slight backup battle going on here, and for me, there's like concern for the backup position. Even though Russell Wilson has been essentially an Iron Man in his entire career, up until last year where he missed 3 games and had a phenomenal speedy recovery from a thumb injury, he never missed any time. I don't know how confident I am in Brett Rippon or Josh Johnson having to step in if called on. Hopefully, knock on wood, that day never happens because Russell Wilson he finds a way. He just doesn't miss time until last season for the first time in nearly, 8 years into his career. So I'm pretty confident that we'll never have to see the backup, but tiny bit of concern from my end if we do. I'm not really in love with Rippon or Josh Johnson being QB2. Third and final loser, it is Billy Turner. Not as much of a loser as much of a MIA candidate because Billy Turner is still out with that knee injury. Remember, this is the knee injury that led him to fail a physical with the Packers, which resulted in them releasing him and then him coming back to Denver. So with Billy Turner still out with this knee injury, Calvin Anderson, who had a broken nose and a face mask like an NBA player, was taking starting reps at right tackle. So for Turner, you don't have the job completely locked up, right? You're not 100% in, stretched in, stone. You are the starting right tackle. So when you're missing time and you're coming to a new-ish team, that's not ideal. But what is your confidence level in this Broncos offensive line? We've asked it before, but I think it's a fair question to ask as we get closer to, real football, because if we're not hearing great reports coming out of Dove Valley, then I don't know where we all stand on letting Russell Wilson go out there with an offensive line that was so-so last year and not seeing clear improvement for this season. The thing with Billy Turner is he's got some familiarity with the team, right? Started his career in Denver and goes to Green Bay and follows his offensive coordinator and the tight ends coach or offensive line coach, Justin Uten, to Denver. So he's not learning with a new coach, but it's still different, right? It's not the same. It's a new team. So that's step one. It's a new quarterback. And even though it's a team he has familiarity with, right? He's not getting lost driving to the practice facility and whatnot. He knows where the bathroom is, stuff like that. You would still like him to be caught up a little bit more before training camp really gets underway. Because when you're the starting right tackle for a team that has Russell Wilson as the quarterback, you're going to have a lot of eyeballs on you. There's going to be a lot of high expectations. Because when Russell Wilson gets sacked, people are going to be upset that a quarterback who's going to be making, $250 million on his next extension, somewhere in that ballpark, is getting hurt a lot. No one wants to see that, and a lot of fingers are going to be pointed to the offensive line. Appreciate everyone that clicked onto today's show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your Sunday, your Monday, whenever you're watching this. And hey, we'll see you later with more Broncos news and rumors.